to Conversations with the Candidates, a series of discussions with the candidates for North Adams City Council, hosted by iBerkshires.com and produced by Northern Berkshire Community Television. In this episode, we will be talking to incumbent Wayne Wilkinson, newcomer Barbara Murray, and Ronald Sheldon, who has been with us here before. They are all on the ballot for the November 2nd election, and they will be the first ones will be talking about what they would like to see as council candidates. And we will first start with Wayne Wilkinson to introduce himself to the viewers.
Well, my name is Wayne Wilkinson. I'm rerunning for City Council. I have, my family and I have lived here for 45 years. I am presently a council member serving my third term. While on council, I enjoy being on the Finance Committee as well as General Government, and we've had a lot of action on those two this year, though we have a lot of unfinished business. One of the reasons why I want to rerun or run again is there is a lot of unfinished business, and some of it I'm very interested in. I have owned my own business here in North Adams for the last 30 years, Wilkinson Appraisal Associates, and love being here.
Okay. And Ms. Murray.
Hi, I'm Barb Murray. I grew up in North Adams and was educated here, went to North Adams State at the time, and then to UMass. So my ties are definitely with North Adams. I ended up marrying Glenn Murray, who's also from North Adams, and we moved with the military. He joined the Army back in the 70s, which brought us to all parts of the United States and to Germany twice, which I think was a great experience, and we fully took advantage of seeing a lot of the world. I care about North Adams. I moved back to North Adams when I retired from my government position, and this is where my heart is. It always has been. I've been an advocate for North Adams. Everybody I've ever worked with knows that I'm from North Adams and I love the Berkshires. I got interested in the city council, I think last spring. I don't know, it just, I saw people showing interest in running, and I thought, you know, I think I would like to be part of a more integral part of the city, and I would like to give it a try. I feel like I've got a lot of government experience and a lot of life experience, and I'd like to see if the city has an opening. I'd like to see if I could make a difference and be a bigger part of the North Adams scene.
Okay. And Mr. Sheldon?
I've lived here most of my life and have 29 years in kitchen business, so, and I follow the politics of North Adams pretty well.
And I'd like to start with a question to you too, because one of the things that all three of you certainly had on your questionnaires that we have posted on iBerkshires.com or have spoken about in the past is that infrastructure is an important thing that the city has to look at. And you, Mr. Sheldon, have certainly made a point that infrastructure issues that we're talking about can really impact people's lives here in the city. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you would like to see done as a city councilor for that?
I noticed sidewalks need a lot of improvement because I have pictures home where it chewed up my wife's tires and she had to pay $90 for one.
Wow.
To keep going.
Yeah. So we know that there are safety issues that have, some of which have been addressed, but so if you got on the council, what would you push for?
Better access for disabled people.
Particularly within public buildings?
All over.
Okay. Ms. Murray.
Hi.
That's okay.
Well,
what is your take on the infrastructure issues?
Well, that is something that I would have to get more familiar with. I can admit, I see what I see on my street. I come downtown, but I would have to be more mindful of, like, people that with disabilities that are seeing the world differently than I do. And I think that we have an opportunity to do a lot of these things with the money that's coming in. So I think it's to use the money mindfully and take care of all of our citizens.
And Councilor Wilkinson, as somebody who's been on the finance committee too, so you, I mean,
Well,
you know
a lot of
some
it
these
comes,
problems, so-
a lot of it comes down to finance and what we can afford to do. Obviously, there needs to be improvements in all aspects of infrastructure, sewer, water, roads, sidewalks. You know, everybody sees there's a lot of sidewalks that need repair. It does come down to what we can afford and how we're going to spend some money, no matter how it comes in.
Right.
So, I mean, and the biggest infrastructure, if you want to call it infrastructure, and I'm sure all the candidates will be talking about it in these terms, is the public safety building. I mean, as Ron knows, it's not handicap accessible. I mean, that's just a crime. The amount of the way we allow our public safety people to be in that building is also a crime. We need to do something about it, and we got to do it pretty darn soon. Every year we get an exemption, and the state's not going to keep doing that. I mean, this administration did something to. The mayor administration started a process, but to be quite honest with you, I think it should have gone a lot further than now. We need a shovel-ready project ready to go, or else the government's not going to finance it. There's money out there to do that. We haven't pursued it.
So, well, and I'm going to, I think you're right. I mean, one of the biggest issues is, you know, we want projects done, we want to get grants and stuff, but they're not going to give you any money unless you have a plan in front of you that says this is what we're doing, and this is how much it's going to cost. Right. So, and I'm going to go back to Ms. Murray on this because she brought up the ARPA funds, which are the American Rescue Plan Act funds that the city is getting, almost $3.8 million, which sounds like a lot, but isn't.
Right.
When you think a road costs, a mile of road costs about $1 million, it's really not a lot of money. So obviously the mayor put forth his idea of what that we should do with this, but he's going to be out of office. So if you were elected to the city council, how would you want to see that money spent?
Well, I think foremost safety is always the highest priority, and I've saw recently that our water filter system is in bad need of repair. So I think everybody probably in City Hall knows the biggest issues. I'm getting to know the issues more, and I feel like you got to take the money and use it realistically, use it wisely. But the money that's given to us isn't the only funds. We have to, I guess we can ask for more money. We can use our tax money in the right directions and make sure that we're hitting the hot spots first. Like this is the priorities, prioritize, and like you said, get the shovels going. Let's start getting, so the citizens can see things are happening. They're not just talking and pushing it down the can down the road.
And Mr. Sheldon, considering the ARPA funds, there's discussion about, you know, letting the community put their voice in on what. Do you agree with that, number one? And number two, what do you think the community is going to tell the city council in a survey about how to use those funds?
Improve the sidewalks of North Adams.
Yeah.
So everybody can use them, not just the walking people or end up falling down and then suing the city.
Okay. Councilor
Well,
Wilkinson.
there is a small caveat in there in that the money can only be used for certain things and not for others. The mayor gave us a rough idea of where he'd like to start, and of course that's only on the first round of funding, which I believe is $1.2 million. I may be wrong on that number. And then, but the final, I think everybody should have an input into how the money is spent, but when it comes down to the bottom line, it's the mayor that's going to approach the city council with a plan of spending the money, and then the city council will be the body that decides yes or no. If it's not no, the mayor has to come up with another plan, and so forth. So that's why it's very, everybody that's running for city council will have an opportunity, or if they get elected, will get an opportunity to be part of that process.
Right. And as somebody who's been on the council, we talk about what can the council do. The council actually can't do a lot. So from your perspective, what do you see as the council's role going forward into the next year with all the things that have to be done?
Well, the council doesn't have the power that most people think we do. Our main purpose, and main purpose only, is to approve funding appropriations that the mayor brings forth. He decides how he wants to spend the money. We decide on whether he's actually going to be able to spend it that way or not. I mean, another function that we have, of course, is changing ordinances, which I probably try to do too much. But hopefully that's for the best, and we're supposed to look out for the citizens. I get letters from constituents and present them to council as communiques, and we take them there, send it to committee if we need to further investigate it, refer it to the mayor's office if we think his office can be the one that's so forthcoming. But we can't say, okay, I want to change the sewer on Woodlawn Avenue. They're doing that. They're doing that, but the money had to come from the mayor's suggestion and the council appropriating the funds to complete it.
Right. And so I'm going to go back to Ms. Murray, because what would you like to do on the council? Because I noticed you're one of the few who actually put down, you'd like to be on the community development committee, and usually everybody wants to be on the finance committee.
Well,
Why?
that question kind of threw me. I'm like, oh, I don't know. I didn't know where I would be. And I would imagine the new people kind of get put on, I don't know. It's like, okay, you start at the low. Right. That's my expectation. I don't know. And I don't know, I would go wherever, but I feel like I still got a lot to learn, and I feel like, finance did come to mind, but I'm like, I'm not going to start in finance. But I think like safety would be good, and we haven't been as active because of COVID, but I'm part of the Green NA, and I know my heart is, recycle as much as we can. We are trying to get businesses to compost more. So, I mean, I'll be a big voice for that. I mean, they'll probably get sick of me if I make it on the council. They'll be like, well, gee, can we put a compost bag in there? But I don't know. I don't know. I got to learn a lot, and I'd love to work in any capacity.
Okay. And Mr. Sheldon, you've indicated in the past that you would like to serve on the disability committee, or handicapped access and stuff. Is there something else that you would also be interested in doing? Obviously, you've run on this platform before, but I'm wondering what else do you think you think you can bring to the city council?
Maybe the education.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. You did mention that. So what do you mean by education?
Making sure that our dollars that we put into the school system are doing the best they can. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to come back around, and I'm going to start with, let's see, what did I start? I'm going to start with Barbara again. So you mentioned the Green NA, which is a local environmental group. Do you think the city council has done a number of resolutions on recycling and social services and things like that? So what more do you think the council should be more proactive in when it comes to environmental and sustainability?
I think any time that we can financially go the green route, that's the way to go. I think we could maybe have a little more education in the schools about, the pollinating and just any chance like that to include children. I like that the library has a vegetable garden. Just how to be self-sufficient and better to Mother Earth.
Okay. Councilor Wilkinson.
Well, it's a very, very important subject.
Yeah.
And we've kind of started to go in that direction. When we did the budget the last 2 years, we opted to spend a little extra money in order to get green vehicles And they're rotating the green vehicles into the police department now, and we're trying to do that with many of the, not the trucks yet, but with many of the city vehicles. The difficult part of the city vehicles is that they're somewhat expensive and tough to place as green vehicles. But that's a good way to start. I think better education in the schools. Maybe we can get kids to quit throwing things on the ground and rather than or putting them in the trash can. I'd love to see people start putting butts in ashtrays rather than walking, the litter. Though masks seem to be taking over as your basic litter rather than butts.
It's unfortunate. Yeah. So. And Mr. Sheldon, how do you feel about energy and sustainability, and that's something the City Council should be putting forward more proactively?
For the highway department, the police, and the fire, to save money and make the weather better.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll come back to Councilor Wilkinson. What do you, so I just want to get your take on what do you think the most challenging things are going to be in the next 2 years, and how would you as a councilor address them?
I think the budget. Obviously, things are getting more expensive. You can just watch the news and see inflation's going up. My wife works at Big Y. I can't believe how much food has gone up when she works the checkout. So the Finance Committee is going to have a real challenge next time around in order to be, we can make believe that we're going to get all this money and it's going to solve our money problems, but that is hardly the truth. That money is going to disappear in no time, and then we're going to be back with rising school costs, rising insurance. The real estate business, as most people know, and the value of homes have drastically gone up this year, and we will see that when the tax bills come out, when everybody's assessment's gone up. How we counter that by not increasing taxes to the limit, it will have to be maybe cutting corners elsewhere. So that's going to be a huge, huge challenge. And again, the challenge of getting a new public safety building. The first thing we have to do is find a site to build it. That's the first priority. We have 3 in mind. Each one has its caveat. But it's time to pick so we can get the thing going.
Okay. Mr. Sheldon, what do you think is the most challenging thing that the City Council will have to address in the next 2 years?
Start working together as far as the whole group, not all this fighting and bickering and people leaving the council after they got in.
If you get elected, will you stay on for 2 years?
Yeah.
Okay. Will you stay on for 2 full years?
Absolutely.
Okay. Will you stay on for
You don't have to ask me that question.
Yeah, there definitely has been some, stuff going on City Council, and over the last 2 years, we've lost 4 people for various reasons.
But don't believe everything you read in the paper, because they say that there's chaos on the council now. There's not chaos in the council. With those people gone, we're still functioning very, very well. It's been hyped up, and there's probably a lot of untruth things that have been said. The body works very well. We all cooperate with everybody. Yeah, we don't always agree with everybody else's position, but I don't see it as bickering at all.
Yeah, and I've been covering the City Council for a long time, and yes, I've seen people, they just don't necessarily agree, and they vote differently, but they don't necessarily not get along with each other. Yeah, you certainly can see people say what they want to say and why they're voting for that. So, Ms. Murray, how would you work with the council, with your fellow councilors?
Well, I believe that my basic personality is that I want to communicate. I want to sit there and hear what you have to say. I want to get along and get the facts out and then make the best decisions that, like you said, we're limited in our power. It's just, but you have to vote, and you have to vote with North Adams now and in the future in mind, so.
So I'd like to let you guys talk about some of the things that you want to talk about. I mean, what would you like to discuss, Ms. Murray?
I just want to, for people out there that don't know who Barbara Murray is, to know that I'm a native of North Adams, even though I left for work. I grew up here. My maiden name's Lapine. I don't know if anybody knows that name, but I met some people. I went to the parade and I met a few folks, and I was able to, they could get the connection. It's normal, I think, in a town of our size to want to know, who are you connected to? Who are your people? And I think it's obvious. Hopefully it's obvious that I really care about North Adams. I think everybody does, or you wouldn't run for this position. And that if given the chance, I want to be out there. I want to be over in the streets and seeing things done, because I have the time. I'm retired from my full-time job, and I've got time to get out there and, you know, be part of what's going on. And I want to be approachable to the people out in North Adams if they want to say, hey, I'm going to contact Barb and maybe she can bring this up at a meeting. And I'd be more than happy to be a conduit with the mayor.
And Mr. Sheldon, how will you reach constituents if you're elected? You know, how do you talk to them now when you're looking for their votes?
But word of mouth.
Word of mouth, yeah. You
I
see
guess
people, and yeah.
Yeah.
I see you a lot. You're at a lot of events. Yeah.
I saw you all over the parade route.
I was all over the parade route. And so, Councilor Wilkinson, what are you hearing from your constituents? And you must hear a lot.
Well, my office is right downtown on Church Street, so we have people, not so much with COVID now, but people walking in because it's an open office. People come in all the time. You get constant phone calls. We just had a concern up on A Street, and constituents, I can't say that word, sent a letter, and I made sure that it came forward on council as a communique. We're very, very easy to find these days with the public media and email. There's just one more thing that you said we get to talk about things we want to talk about.
What do you want to talk about?
Well, there's a misconception about council.
Okay.
And the misconception is they're all a bunch of yes people, because the mayor comes in, proposes something, and there's a roll call vote. We go around the tables, and it's yes, 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 yes. And so we're all considered a bunch of yes people. What people don't know is that things start at council, say a resolution or change an ordinance, and it gets sent to a committee. The committee works on it, sends it back to council, but there's negotiations in the background or whatever it takes. So when it gets back to council for a vote, everybody's pretty much on the same page because they've already done the negotiations and all that. So we're not a bunch of yes people. There's a lot of work, and people, and certainly everybody will find out how much time it takes to be a counselor. We don't just show up to meetings twice a month and hope for a short agenda. Short agendas are nice though. But a whole lot of work. My wife sometimes gets very upset with me because I'm at 2 or 3 meetings in a week. Luckily, it's been not so bad lately. But those can last an hour, they can last 2 hours, and everything gets worked out in committee. And then we come back to council, vote on it, and it goes from there. But a number of people have talked to me lately, and that's why I wanted to bring it up. Talked to me lately saying, oh, you're a bunch of yes people. Mayor brings something, all you guys say is yes. That's not the case. There's not bickering, but there's good discussion in council sometimes.
Yeah, there's been complaints saying that, you know, there's not enough transparency in local government, but we bring up the fact that a lot of this stuff is talked about in committee, where where all the hard work is really done before it actually goes to council. So do you think you're transparent enough, or is there better things you can do, or to let people realize what's happening?
Well, I'm sure we can all be more transparent in things. There's no question about it. I think we're fairly transparent. Our committee meetings are open to the public, and anybody, they're very informal. It's not like council. You can come in, sit down. Sometimes we just have you sit at the table with us. So it's a totally different thing. When we were all Zooming, I guess we could say it was even more transparent because everybody could just dial in. They didn't even have to come down to the council chambers. I think we're fairly transparent. You're going to have those people, just because they want to, say, you're not transparent, it can be more transparent. Well, the meetings are open to the public. You can go there, you can speak. I don't know how more transparent you can get.
I don't know, Ms. Martin, do you think they could be more transparent? What's your take?
Well, I can't really say I have an opinion on it just yet, because it makes sense what you just said, that, you know, things are happening at these other meetings that don't get as much attention.
We don't get the press. No.
Yeah, right, but that makes sense.
Yes.
So, yes.
I'm sorry.
I can't say yay or nay about, you know, that. I just think that, yeah, it takes walking in the shoes, I think, to know certain of the dynamics. And the perceptions aren't always what is seen right now. And it's probably because of the bad publicity recently, but it is what it is. It happened. They'll get past it, the city council.
Okay. Mr. Sheldon, do you think it's transparent enough that people know enough what's going on in local government?
Not right at this time, the way things have been running this year.
You don't think it's, have you used the Zoom? Have you
No.
dialed in? Okay. So you think it should be, there were better ways to do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, like what?
Probably.
Put you on the spot.
Just keep going with the TV and stuff, and hopefully it will get better.
Okay. More on NBC TV and having more of those subcommittee meetings or committee meetings done, possibly. Because, yeah, they aren't, you know, it's only usually city council, and it's not usually the, you know, the committee meetings other than finance, I think, is brought in a camera. So, you know, that's a point that, you know, there maybe could be more televised. They are always looking for volunteers, I will say that. So if you're interested, call Northern Berks Community Studios to volunteer, and maybe somebody come down and do all those committee meetings.
That would be great.
So, yeah.
Good.
So what, I mean, I had to get into the budget. I mean, I don't know if anybody saw Auditor Bump's report that came out today, basically saying that rural communities need a rescue plan. And that a lot of those ARPA funds that are coming through the state should be coming out here. What is, you know, as I'm trying to figure out what that question is. As a rural community, I'll go with Mr. Wilkinson, Councilor Wilkinson, since he's been in the real estate business and housing. How does it affect the housing market not having infrastructure? And what do we need to? We need $60 million to fix that infrastructure, and how do we do that? How do we?
Well, I guess you're gonna stump me on that one,
Yeah,
because I don't know. To be quite honest with you, I hadn't seen whatever article you read today, so I'm not familiar with it. It's the only way you can increase your budget is by putting more tax-paying properties on the books, especially on the commercial side. I mean, we've seen some, with this market that we're presently in, we've seen some improvement there. We've seen new buildings go up. There's going to be quite a bit of new commercial growth this year, so that'll be very helpful. I don't think that answered what your question was, because I really didn't.
Not, so
I didn't really know the question.
I should have brought it up because I wasn't sure if anybody had read it yet. But speaking of housing, though, well, we know part of our problem is we have a lot of blight in the city because we have lost a lot of population. And the city itself it's difficult for it to deal with some of these problems because of legal issues, because of ownership issues, and because of the cost of doing it. What do you think, what actions can the city take to maybe address some of these problems?
Well, they can try to go after the biggest offenders, which right now the biggest offenders, in my opinion only, are banks, financial institutions, because they'll foreclose on a property and then they do absolutely nothing. There's nothing the city can do to force them to maintain their properties unless they're breaking some kind of ordinance, like not taking care of the sidewalk, shoveling the sidewalk. We have an ordinance for that. However, we don't have an ordinance that says you have to mow your lawn. And the properties keep getting worse and worse and worse. And we have a lot of them. And so I believe that they're one of the biggest offenders. Other problems is estates. There's my office is on Church Street, right across from the library virtually, and we have 5 beautiful properties on Church Street that have been tied up. They're actually historic brick, absolutely worth saving, but they've been tied up in an estate for 7 years now, and the properties are just about to the point where the wrecking ball is going to have to come in, and there should have been no need for that. Plus, nobody's taking care of them. So, I mean, you're down in Monument Square. It's supposed to be a beautiful part of the city, and you want to do something about it. But you can go to you can go to land court. Take you a year right now to get into land court. I mean, that's a problem for a number of different city problems we have with properties that we can do nothing with. It costs a lot of money. That's why, we have a list, and I believe there's 7 to 10 houses that are pulled down every year, but that's all the money that we can afford to do that, and we try to pick the most blighted ones there are, or in some cases, the most dangerous ones there are. We don't want kids playing in there. We don't want homeless people in there getting hurt. So you have to go after them in some manner or form, and I'm sure if we had a valid way to do that, we would already have done it. So.
Okay.
Have somebody come up with a great idea.
I know. Ms. Murray, do you have a great idea?
Of course. I've got this. No. I'm excited about the new, what is it? I forget the name of it. The downtown
the
section.
Smart growth?
The smart growth.
Growth,
Hopefully
yeah.
hopefully that will happen, and we'll get the right people in there with great plans, and we'll see some more, I'd like to see more vitality downtown, and this is what this should accomplish. We should see more people living downtown, and a few more businesses, a few more reasons not to get in your car. And I like that. I don't, the budget, obviously I'm way behind on any budget, knowledge at this point, but I can get up to speed if somehow I can be part of anything. I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the money that's coming in, but I do believe it's going to go quickly. It definitely is just going to put a Band-Aid on the bigger areas. And I'd love to see, if somebody does have a neighbor that's house has been abandoned, or that they don't have to worry about it falling apart and falling into their home. I know that happens. I've seen a few things on Facebook of what do I do? The house next door, the roof is falling in. And I feel for citizens that there should be a solution for that, and I'm sure there are solutions. It's just having the right people that work at City Hall out there pounding the pavement.
How about you, Mr. Sheldon?
I'd like to see the local government and the state government work together and the banks to have some kind of loan program to improve all these old houses.
Yeah. It seems to be the banks, or I shouldn't say not even the banks, the mortgage holders, because some of them aren't even banks.
That's correct. Secondary mortgage market.
Secondary mortgage that hold a lot of these, and it was very difficult to even track down who owns some of these properties.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they are unsafe. So what else, so I'm gonna open up, is anything else that you would like to talk about, Councilor Wilkinson?
Oh, you caught me off. Can't catch
Yeah,
me
see,
off
well, you
guard.
wanted to talk about what you want to talk about, so let's talk about something.
I did.
We only have a few minutes,
I
so,
know.
you know, something particular that, because you have taken up a number of ordinance over the last few years and pushed through
Yes,
a number of
I
things. So if
did.
you have anything that, if you got elected, you would like to try to push through this time. It'll probably take you 2 years too, so.
Yeah. I'm kind of known on my time on council for doing zoning changes and things of real estate development and stuff like that. I have a couple ideas of things I like to do along those lines. I'm going to shoot myself in the foot right now. I'd love to change the council time from 7:30 to 6:30. Time spans up. I may try to do it again. Sorry, Mr. Cardamino. And other than that, things come along constantly. I'm sure that there's going to be things that we haven't even seen yet that are going to need the council's attention. And obviously, we'll have to deal with it at the time. But again, zoning's my thing, and I have some ideas for that.
Okay. Ms. Murray, would you like to see a start time of 6:30 for the city council?
Well, I'm flexible, so
You might have a vote.
I wouldn't be against it.
Yeah.
You know, my time is my time. That's the nice thing about being retired.
Is there one thing that you would like to see done, one thing that you would like to see done in your 2 years?
I can't say there's one absolute that I'm going to badger on, but I just would like to be part of it. I'm back in my beloved North Adams, and I feel like I'd like to be, I can work with people, hopefully, and I'd like to be part of the city government, and I like the idea of you're going to have a little impact on the future, and let it be a good impact, you know, not like, oh, I can't believe these people voted for whatever. Like I would say taking down half of Main Street way back in the day, that wasn't the best move when they did
I
that.
think we can all vote on that one.
So,
And Mr. Sheldon, is there one thing that you would like to push through if you were elected?
See the railroad tracks down by the junkyard all straightened out, not such a mess. Looks, no wonder they had fires.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a hard one though, because then you're
Yeah.
going up against the railroad industry. But yeah.
Well, it's
yeah,
also the junkyard.
yeah. You gonna buy it?
Yeah. If you give me the money.
Okay. So we're getting close to our time. I don't know if you guys, if there's anything else that you'd like to bring up that, I mean, it was kind of broad, just asking questions. I mean, is there anything else that you'd like to say? Or we can wrap up. It's up to you.
That's fine.
I just want to say, give me your vote.
Well, we'll do that. We'll go around. We'll do
No,
it.
I'm
Mr.
kidding. Oh, we're
Mr.
still gonna do
Sheldon
that?
can be
Okay.
first. Tell people why they should vote for you.
To really help the disabled people of North Adams and the rest of the community.
Okay. Ms. Murray?
I think to piggyback on your, I think it's important for everybody in North Adams, but since we're trying to be a tourist, I mean, we've turned into more of a tourist area. I'm sure the tourists coming in look into it and want to know that we're accessible. But I just feel like our schools, we got to have our kids in a better school situation, and I feel like I got a good education in North Adams, and I'd like the kids coming up through to get the same opportunity.
Okay. And why should people vote for you?
Because I will work on, I mean, I will try my hardest to spend our money correctly, get the schools in better shape. I'm just an advocate for North Adams, and I'll try to be the best advocate between the mayor and the council.
Okay. All right. And Councilor Wilkinson?
I'm Wayne Wilkinson. I'm rerunning for city council. I will continue, much to maybe some of the other councilors' ideas, to be an outspoken person, speak my own mind. I'm not a yes man by far. If I get reelected, I hope to stay on maybe the Finance Committee. I mean, it's kind of fun to spend $44 million, or at least have a hand in it. Continue some of the stuff in general government that I have, we've started, but certainly we have a long list that have not been completed because of COVID and for other reasons. I know this is going to sound like a cliche, but I'm running on my record.
Okay.
Hope I can get your vote.
All right. Thank you very much, and thank you so much for being here. Join us for our next episode, and I want to thank everyone involved. I thank NBC Studios for allowing us to have this program here, and to remind everybody to vote on November 2nd for the candidates. So you will pick 9 candidates to be on the City Council for the next year, as well as a mayor and a school committee. So don't forget to vote, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you.